Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, Bitcoin holders are waiting for the end to come. What end? Well, there are a lot of stuff going on right now. This is what the market is looking at. So I'm going to talk about the latest with the Fed and inflation. Going to talk about the Russia and U.S. conflict. Going to talk about some earnings. And a little bit more about everything else. So let's get started. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And check out all the latest news, article, and guides at CryptosRUs.com. And make sure you hit that notification bell too. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you guys are doing good today. I had an earlier stream, of course, market open. There seems to be more people tuning in, so I'm going to continue doing them, although I'll tell you, I'm not a morning person, so it's hard for me. It's hard for me to do those, but I'm going to continue to do them as long as you guys enjoy them. Anyways, so getting back to Bitcoin, 42.6, so obviously a little bit better than yesterday. And if you look at Coin360, well, the market is more or less green today than red, although we're still down from a few days ago, last week, when Bitcoin touched upon 45,000, Ethereum was back to 3,200. So we're still below those levels. And BTC dominance has gone up slightly more because there's more fear right now. Whenever there's more fear, that's usually when Bitcoin dominance comes up and more money is put back into Bitcoin. That's how it usually is. So overall, though, you know, there seems to be a lot of hesitation, right? One way or another with the equities market, with Bitcoin, with the crypto market. There seems to be a lot of hesitation right now because of everything that's going on. There's a lot of things going on right now, and we're waiting for the end to come, right? So let's get into it. First of all, I didn't mention about all the Super Bowl ads this morning and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go through, go on a rant about how horrible they were in terms of the crypto ads. But anyways, just so you know, just for your reference, a 30-second ad spot yesterday costed anywhere between $6 to $6.5 million for a 30-second ad, and Coinbase spent about $14 million. And even though everyone thinks, oh, it's a success because it caused Coinbase to have such an outage and this and that. Well, first of all, their infrastructure kind of sucks. So there's always outage. And second of all, had they just put on the screen, free $15 Bitcoin, come here, they would have probably tripled their traffic. So before anyone starts, rooting for Coinbase, saying their commercial was so genius to have a QR code float around for a minute, I think it was just utterly a waste of money. Ridiculous in my opinion. Anyways, no more rants about bad crypto commercials. Let's get into it. CNBC right now is showing that the indexes are mostly in green. Most have flipped into green except Dow Jones. So it does seem like, Wall Street is kind of wanting to, they want to go up. They want to buy, but still a lot of hesitation. Although this is much better than Europe. Europe had a disaster. So you could see completely in red. London, completely decimated, and everything else in Europe. Look at this, everything in red, right? Obviously because of the conflict right now. Asia was pretty much the same too. Except, Japan sold off way more than everyone else. But the U.S. tried to shrug it off. Wait, did it just reset? Or maybe I had... No, there we go. Okay. I don't know why it always does this. Okay, we're still in the green, not in the red. I think we're still in the green. Okay, so let's talk about some of the stuff that's going on. Of course, the Ukraine conflict continues. Tension between U.S. and Russia is building up, and there are still a lot of people that think that the U.S. is making this up and all this and stuff. I mean, I just don't see it at this point. When you have the German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, I butchered that name, but he's trying to have talks with with the president of Ukraine and Russia, and that's today and tomorrow, right? And flights are being canceled so that KLM announced that they're not flying into Ukraine anymore. And Boris Johnson is also urging Russia to step back, right? With all this, and then satellite images of 100,000 troops at the border, it doesn't seem like this is made up, okay? I think there's still a lot of distrust into U.S. media, and I get that. A lot of fake news out there, but, you know, this is escalating. And, you know, the U.S. National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, went on TV recently, said that there was going to be a phone call, and a phone call happened. And NATO has been, you know, talking with Biden too. So there's still a lot of stuff going on. Whether or not there's going to be really an invasion, I don't know. Russia could be just doing this because they want better treatment, or there's something going on behind the scenes. Maybe it has to do with oil. Oil seems to be a main thing that a lot of countries go to war over, right? So there's just still a lot of stuff, and I don't know when the end of this will come. This has been talked about for months upon months upon months, and it seems to be, you know, just in the background. But ever since, you know, the White House kind of had the press conference, this has been escalating. At least it seems like it's been escalating. So, unfortunately, we don't know when this is going to end, where it's going to go, right? But this is still ongoing, and it's just something we have to pay attention to. White House thinks that an invasion could happen anytime, like as soon as last weekend. Obviously, it didn't happen last weekend. Could it come this week? Could it come next week? Will it ever happen? We just don't know. But this is definitely putting a lot of pressure on European markets, and it is holding U.S. markets down, at least for the time being. So this is something that we have to pay attention to. No resolution at this point. Now, the next thing we have to pay attention to is, of course, inflation, right? And inflation is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So if you look at this week in terms of economic calendar, what's going on this week? Well, St. Louis Fed President James Bullard was already interviewed. He believes we need to go very, very, very hawkish, extremely hawkish, 1% rise by July. Okay. Now there is a closed door meeting today, and somehow there's speculation that maybe they're going to raise rates as soon as today, before March. I didn't even know that was on the table, but now there's people that's talking about that the Fed will raise rates even before March, even like right now, right? I just don't see it, but there's now talks about it, and that would be absolute devastation to the market if that happened. Okay, if they came out today and said, "Oh, we're going to raise rates today or tomorrow or next week," that would be total devastation. But I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, so a lot of fears about that still. In terms of economic calendar, there are some things that we need to pay attention to, like retail sales, which is coming out tomorrow. And then, of course, jobless claims, which is coming on Thursday, which is important too, measuring how healthy, you know, the labor force is in the U.S. There's just a lot of stuff going on right now, okay? And also going on right now, earnings. There's still a lot of earnings. So I mentioned this morning. NVIDIA, they will be reporting on Wednesday. I think that's going to be a very telling story about supply chain issues, you know, forecasting if things are going to get better from a supply chain perspective, from a, you know, a chip perspective, right? Semiconductors. And of course, Thursday you have Walmart, which will also tell a pretty story about whether or not the retail side is improving or getting worse, right? So there's some earnings that's coming up this week. So like I said, there's a lot that's coming out this week, okay? The conflict with U.S. and Russia, still not over. Inflation worries, still not over. Fed raising rates, not over. Earnings, not over. There's a lot of things that's going on right now, right? So as an investor, you're just hoping this all just kind of goes away, right? But I've argued this time and time again, right? that Bitcoin solves all of these issues, every single one. And this is why we would need to be in Bitcoin for a long haul. Short term, we're going to have volatility. Long term, Bitcoin solves all of these issues. That's why we need to be in Bitcoin. We need to be in Bitcoin. What else is there? I was talking about inflation, right? Today is Valentine's Day, I believe. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. But because of inflation, I saw this. If you're going to buy a filet mignon, it is now 154% higher than last year. If you're going to buy hybrid T-Rose, it's 22% higher than last year. If you're going to buy a diamond, 15% higher than last year. If you go buy chocolates, 9% higher. However, here's the kicker. If you're buying gold, you're buying at a discount. Gold is actually 1% lower than last year. And if you're buying silver, bigger discount, 10% lower than last year. I just had to bring that up because, there are still many that argues that gold and silver are great hedges against inflation. Yeah, this is year to year, and they're still down from a year ago. So I would argue they're not so much this point. However, everything else on here kind of shows you that, yeah, the 7.5% that we're at, that CPI is measuring, that's only a small percentage of everything out there. And many have gone up way more than a 7.5%. For example, a pound of filet mignon, which is 150%. I went to Costco yesterday and just looking at Alaskan king crab legs, for example, right? It is double the price versus last year. I know that for sure. It's like three claws and it's like $50 when last year was like 20 something or 30 something. Food prices have gone up so much. People don't realize it, but it has. There's so many things that have gone up so much. So much. Anyways, all right, moving on. What else is there? Well, I don't know what else there is. I did see this. Obviously, this is good. I've been showing you guys this for quite some time. So basically, everything I've said, everything that is causing the market to not move right now, right? All could be solved by Bitcoin. And there are many whales that agree, which is why they continue to buy, and which is why the liquid supply of Bitcoin keeps going up. You could see Bitcoin coming down since November, right, to where we are now. But the liquid supply, did that go down? No, it kept going up. And it is still going up. And that is because the whales keep buying and buying and buying. They're buying behind the scenes. They're making sure they spread out their buys, so when their buys come in by the billions, it doesn't raise the price because they want to accumulate as many as possible. But the whales that are manipulating on exchanges, which is a very small subset, they are the ones that's driving things up and down right now. But we know that the reserves keeps dropping lower and lower and lower. As more of it becomes a liquid supply, eventually there's just not going to be many left for them to manipulate. And then at that point, everyone wants a piece of Bitcoin and there's just not many to go around, right? So the scarcity factor, of course, is going to play a big role in Bitcoin's price rise going forward. And of course, the miners are also doing the same thing. You can look at the two as almost, identical, right? You could see the miners, oh shoot, I just closed it by accident. The miners continue to mine more and more and more and more, and they continue to hold more and more. And sorry, I just accidentally closed it. The hash rate is at all-time high. They're not selling, and they keep adding more, and they keep mining more, they keep holding all of it. So again, plays into the scarcity aspect. And of course, you still have institutions, even fund companies like Canada. All of their Bitcoin ETFs added together now hold more than 62,000 Bitcoins. And that number has not been going down. And then you add that to everything else, that MicroStrategy, Tesla, and the miners, everything that they hold, right? It adds up. And just within a short amount of time, over 7.2% of Bitcoins are gone, are locked into these companies. And these are the ones that are not trading. These are the companies that really believe in Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin in their funds. And that number continues to rise, again, adding to the liquid supply for the most part, and taking Bitcoin out of circulation. So all these things show Bitcoin is very healthy, is still on its way up. That's why we need to hold it for long term, and why it's the best hedge against inflation. And so many people think so. And from a utility standpoint, Strike and Jack Mallers, they're going to be launching in over 50 countries this year. And since Strike already utilized the Lightning Network and Cash App now also utilize Lightning Network, it's making Bitcoin more usable, not just as a store of value. You could actually use it to pay for things. You could actually use it to send money worldwide, basically feeless and instantaneously. So in terms of usage, it's also growing by leaps and bounds. Again, why we need to hold Bitcoin long term, because it's still very, very early. There you go. That's pretty much everything I want to say. The last thing I want to address is something that I've been asked, because I am a partner of this company, and they do have a statement to release. So BlockFi was just sued by the SEC, and they have agreed to pay $100 million. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, this means that the SEC does not like any lending companies to operate in the U.S. So I did get word from BlockFi. Starting from today, there will be no new interest-bearing accounts. So if you want to earn interest starting from today, if you're in the U.S., you can no longer use BlockFi to earn interest. They will be converting everything to the BlockFi wallet, which you can still use to trade. Okay, and of course they still have the BlockFi credit card. So for U.S. residents, basically you could utilize the wallet to trade with and to hold your crypto, and also use their credit card. Now, if you are outside the U.S., you could still get their interest-bearing accounts, and if you have your crypto in BlockFi ready, you will still collect interest from the crypto. It's just that they're not going to allow new customers to come in. So again, to restate, if you have crypto in BlockFi, you will continue to earn interest. They're not going to kick you out. But for any new money coming in and any new accounts created, there will be no interest. They are going to basically remove that. So that's what's happening with BlockFi. And we kind of knew this was coming, because Coinbase got a letter from the SEC. Coinbase got a letter from SEC back in 2021, because Coinbase wanted to come out with their equivalent program, their lending program, which they will give you earned interest. And the SEC sent them a letter saying, no, if you go do that, we're going to sue you, right? So Coinbase actually backed off to not do that. So this was kind of not a surprise. It was just a matter of time. And of course, the SEC is now also looking at Gemini, which does have an earn system, earn product, which allows you to earn on interest. And of course, the next one after BlockFi is Celsius. So the SEC is looking at them too. Basically, the SEC does not like any crypto project that's operating in the US to basically be giving interest out through lending. That is the thing. And they have not given any clarity on why, but it's going to happen. So unfortunately, that's the case. So what does this mean? Well, there are still services that's open, overseas. If you're not in the U.S., you actually don't have to worry about any of this. But if you're in the U.S., well, it does show that you need to move more towards DeFi. And this is part of the reason why DeFi exists, right? Why DeFi exists is because it's decentralized. There's no centralized entity that tells you whether or not you can earn interest or whether or not you can loan out, right? There's no middleman, and this is why DeFi is here to stay and why it's going to grow as regulations stack up. So that's the latest with BlockFi. So if you're on BlockFi again, you get to continue to earn interest, but there's no new interest-bearing accounts. And if you're on Gemini or Celsius, right, I think you're going to be okay until, SEC shuts them down too. But if you're out overseas, then you can continue to use all these services, no problems. It's just in the U.S., the SEC. Gary is putting his foot down. He doesn't like how the lending companies are basically replacing banks, and probably a little fearful of that, to be honest. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Now let's do some Q&A. All right. Let's see here. Scrolling up. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Mario says, my optimism is unbreakable. Yes, yes. I mean, you guys have heard me talk about it. I've been through much, much, much worse situations with crypto winter, with some of the corrections we had, right? So short-term stuff doesn't really bother me. I look at the bigger picture, right? And I realize during bull runs, I've always said this, during bull runs, there's a lot of corrections. There's a lot of up and downs, even in a bull market, right? But we're in a different situation now, right? We have broken through a 4-year cycle. So how the market behaves now may not be the same as before. And that's a good thing, because some of the fudders already kind of spread out that, we're in crypto winter, be prepared for 3 years of downwards. I don't believe that. I think the environment has changed. Institutions changed it. The funds changed it. The miners changed it. The global adoption have changed it. I will continue to stay bullish on Bitcoin and crypto. However, I'm not oblivious to some of the geopolitical stuff that's going on or macroeconomic stuff that's going on, right? We have to pay attention to those things because they do have a short-term effect on what's going on with the equities market, with Wall Street traders, and with crypto, right? So short-term, we got to pay attention to that. But long-term, Bitcoin solves all these issues, pretty much. And DeFi does, too. Bitcoin and DeFi, let's just put it out. And maybe NFTs. So you could throw NFTs in there. Wrong again says, George is eating at Costco. Poor George. What? You're trying to make fun of Costco? You're trying to shame Costco? Okay, buddy. Okay. Greetings from Spain. What is your opinion on Star Alice and Alice token? I have no opinion other than I need to see it operational and people playing it. There's some good games out there. I've started looking into some of these. I mean, some look okay. It's just that they have no traction at all. So it's just a matter of first getting the game out, and second of all, getting people to actually play them. All right. Looks like Jamie Dimon wins a point. Alan, I think you're right about that. I just saw that HBAR Foundation have confirmed listing for HBAR coming. Speculators are assuming it's Coinbase. Heard anything? No. It could be Coinbase. I mean, they're big in the U.S. There's no doubt that they're one of the big L1s, so why not? It could be. Could be. Ragnar says they're protecting the interests of the banks. They're corrupt. Use DeFi earning platforms. Yeah, I mean, in the U.S., eventually that's what's going to come down to. You have to use DeFi, right? I mean, the U.S. government and the Fed and Treasury, they're not just going to allow banks to get run over by these new age crypto projects, right? That would be disastrous for them. So they're not going to let that happen. They're going to try to protect it as much as possible. But, once the genie is out of the bag, you can't really put it back, right? And that's what DeFi is. That's what blockchain and crypto is. And same thing with Bitcoin. Let's see. OMG says, Baby Doge would outperform Doge, Shiba, and Cardano. Do you agree? No. I think as NFTs actually get more and more popular, meme coins will die. I actually think that's the new meme coin. Before retail or people that's looking to strike it rich with meme coins, what are they doing? They're turning to NFTs because it makes more sense for them. I have a few people that I don't know if I'm really close with, but I know a few people that they've heard of Bitcoin over the years, but they never wanted to get in because it's just too complicated. They don't want to deal with it, right? But now when I talk to them, they're like, yeah, I'm really looking into NFTs. If NFTs keep going the way they are and they just keep going, they're just blowing up, I think it's going to kill all meme coins, in my opinion. I mean, meme coin have not been doing well because I think all the money went into NFTs. And I think that's going to continue forward. My wife often says like a cat up a tree without a paddle. I'll steal that one. What should I do if I bought at top? Easy, you DCA. You keep DCAing. That's the only thing you could do. Well, no, I take that back. There's two things you could do. No, there's three things you could do. One is you could give up and just sell, take your losses, and say no more. That's usually the worst thing you could do. Second thing you do is basically just hold. Continue to hold until things come back up, and has worked for many, 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 many out there. Trust me, even after 3 years of crypto winter, there are some that just held and held and held, and now they're 10 times or 100 times higher. It works. And the third is the DCA. Basically, you set a schedule or set a percentage, every single week, every 2 weeks, every month, every paycheck, whatever it may be, or by a certain percentage drop, right? I think those three things are the only options that you have. And I would say number 2 and 3 are the ones that works. Jesus, any info on Jupiter? Never heard of Jupiter. Sorry. What are your thoughts on Nervos? Seems like a lot of people. No, they're not sleeping on them. It's just they've been out for a while. A lot of the old school L1s, they kind of lost their momentum. Their previous fan base have left, and they just never recovered because of it. But Nervos is working. They're trying hard. They're being a bridge, interoperable bridge for Cardano and Ethereum and many others, and they've just spun up their EVM chain. So they're working at it, but a lot of them just don't have the traction like before. Like, for example, Nulls, which is a project I think is fantastic, but they just don't have no traction. Energy is another one. You could put even Zilliqa in there. Zilliqa, they're pretty big. I think 600 million, but they just never, they just don't have the momentum as the modern day L1s that kind of popped up in the last few years. Can you relate on ACH? It's still good for a payment system, fiat on-ramp for many chains. Intel just introduced a new chip to mine Bitcoin to compete with ASIC miners. See, although that sounds interesting to me, and supposedly it's going to be revolutionary and be like 100x faster, that's not going to help Intel right now. Intel is dying. They are getting killed by AMD and NVIDIA. So, although I think that's a good thing for Bitcoin and mining overall, Intel needs to worry more about their bottom line. They are getting slaughtered on the retail side by AMD and mobile side by NVIDIA. So they only have basically an enterprise side, and even then, it's, everything's moving to the cloud. So I don't know. I don't know what Intel is doing. They just keep screwing up. When I was growing up, Intel was a dominant semiconductor company. Now, NVIDIA is like triple their size. I mean, it's insane, at least in terms of market cap. Why Intel picking BTC? Yeah, of course, because BTC Bitcoin is the big dog. You still want to concentrate on BTC. If you're taking a risk, it's like the old saying, no one ever got fired from buying IBM. And that saying was even before me. It's like you go with the sure things, right? Like if you're going to buy a nobody, you're going to get fired for it. But if you buy IBM, you're fine. I mean, that's from years ago. But it's the same thing with Intel. If you're going to enter crypto, you're not going to say, oh, I'm going to come out with miners for, I don't know. I'm going to come out with miners for Neo or Kusama, even though that doesn't make sense. They're both proof of stake. But I'm just making an example, right? Of course, you would go with Bitcoin. Of course, you go with the big dog. People in the chat need info on XRP. Do you have any video to show them? I do. I do have a very educational video on XRP. I know there are many people speculating that the lawsuit is going to be over soon. I don't think so. SEC, look at what they're doing, right? They're shutting down all lending companies out there. They're shutting down anyone that's competing in the banks right now, right? What is XRP competing against? Well, banks and Swift and all the payment processors out there, right? So are they just going to let the lawsuit slide and just kind of let them win? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a rigorous battle. They will be fighting XRP tooth and nail for a long time. So, yeah. So don't expect that lawsuit to go away anytime soon. All right. I'm going to let you guys go. Overall, Bitcoin doing better. Crypto doing better. Short term, a lot of stuff that we're waiting for the end to come. Geopolitical stuff with Ukraine, macroeconomic stuff with inflation and the Fed. We got some earnings stuff to look forward to, right? So there's a lot of stuff that's causing the market to kind of be uneasy at this point. However, long term, Bitcoin solves all these issues. Bitcoin and DeFi solves all these issues. So that's why we need to be in the game. What do you think about Hedera? I think it'll be just fine. All right. I'll end the stream with this very educational video about XRP and Ripple. So you guys enjoy. Take care. Bye-bye.
What do you think about Ripple?
Well, I mean, I think it's too centralized, but I definitely want to meet Chris Larson.